Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, today I've got a question for you that is Islam really a sexist? Now, who is a sexist? A person who discriminates against women on the basis of sex is a sexist. Now, one may say that Islam is sexist mainly because the way Muslim women actually dress up, right? Now, there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that La ikraha fid deen. There is no compulsion in religion. So if a woman chooses to cover herself up, it's totally her choice. In fact, there was this lady who was being interviewed by a journalist, and she said that the women who choose to cover themselves are actually fighting against a systematic oppression against women, in which a woman's body is being sexualized and objectified. This is a completely different perspective and a completely different form of empowerment, in which when a hijabi is in public, her sexuality is in her control. And people actually have to deal with her brain and who she really is, and not judge her by her body. And if we really want to talk about the oppression against women, let's talk about all the plastic surgeries, all the eating disorders, all the unhealthy diets that the young girls follow to have the perfect body. I have met so many women, in fact, my own mother and my sisters, who practice hijab because they find it more liberating and more empowering. Now, if you come and tell me that why are only women supposed to have practice hijab and not men, let me tell you, my sister, that men were ordered to lower their gaze before women were actually asked to cover themselves up, right? So if a beautiful woman or a beautiful lady is passing by, a Muslim man's, what he's supposed to do is that he has to lower his gaze, which may not, it's not easy, right? So even men are supposed to practice a hijab. Right now, talking about the status of women in Islam, you won't believe that the Quran actually has an entire chapter named after women, Surah An-Nisa. We cannot find any other chapter that is named after men. There is a complete surah named after women, and in fact, it's one of the biggest surahs in the Quran. And you come and tell me that Islam is being sexist. Talking about the wealth that the women are actually, the women in Islam, the wealth of their fathers, they're actually supposed to have a part, like they get to keep it. There are actually laws that this part of it, the wealth goes to the boys, this part of the wealth goes to the daughters. So women are actually having the control over the property. They get to keep the property that they get from their fathers, and not only from their fathers. When they get married, the husband is supposed to give a particular amount of dowry demanded by the bride to the bride itself and not to the family. So this is the status of women in Islam. And in fact, you know what, I've noticed that people after getting married, they change their names. The women, they change their names and they add their husband's name at the end of their name. Islamically, you're not supposed to do that, because women have their own identity. They were born with their father's name and they had it until they got married. So why change after marriage? My sister Rehnuma Ahmed did not change her name after she got married. She still has her father's name attached to her. She has her own identity, right? That is the status of women in Islam. And you call Islam sexist? Men don't change their name after marriages. Why should women, right? And if you tell me that women are not allowed to go and work out according to Islam, it's completely incorrect. The Prophet's wife, Khadija Raziallahu Anha, was actually one of the biggest business women in her time. And our Prophet got married to her. You can go out and work. You can have your own wealth. You can have your own identity. That is what Islam really gives women, their actual right. And if you come and tell me that the matter for the talaq, which actually gives the right the men to divorce the woman and the women have no right to divorce the men, it's completely false. See, the men have the right to divorce the woman and the woman also has the right to divorce her husband. There are only just two different Arabic terms used for it. Talaq is when the husband divorces the woman, and khula is when the wife divorces the husband. So there are two different terms used so that we actually know that who actually wants the separation. So even the wife has equal right to divorce her husband as the husband has the right to divorce the wife, right? Now, talking about the role of women in Islam, there are so many verses in the Quran that you will find that actually talk about women. Asya Razallahu Anha, Maryam, and there are so many more, right? And it's a sincere request that if you really want to know the how are women actually treated in Islam, please go to the actual text of the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith, because the religious texts have been manipulated, and the articles and all that you get to read are not actually very much authenticated, right? So go to the actual text and you will get the right information over there. Now, when a Muslim girl is born, she becomes the reason for her father to enter the paradise. When she grows up and she gets married, she actually completes half the faith of her husband. And when she becomes the mother, Jannah lies under her feet. This is the status of women in Islam. This is how much respect and this is how much value is given to women in Islam. And you call Islam a sexist. Well, you should definitely go and do your research first and then come to conclusions as such. So that's it for today. And please suggest me if any topics that you really want me to make my videos upon. I will inshallah try to do it. Assalamu alaikum.